Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Hope you are all fine and learning a lot through these video lectures. Today we are going to talk about user management in Linux. Well, gentlemen, there are three types of users in Linux. The first is the root user, who is the administrator of the system. Rest all users are normally called the regular users, and on Ubuntu their user ID normally starts from 1000 onward. And there are many users who are called the system users or the non-login users. Before jumping to user management, which is the task of a system administrator, let us see some basic commands related to users in Linux. The first command is who am I? This command displays your username on the terminal. The other command is who. The who command displays a line. The first column shows the name of the user. The second column shows the terminal. Then the date time since that user is logged in. And the last is the IP of the machine from which that user has logged in. So since I'm doing it on my personal laptop, so you can see a :0 over here. If you run this command in the lab, you will find the IP address of the machines in front of the usernames. Another command, that is the ID command. It actually displays your ID and the primary GIDs and list of groups that you belong to. For example, since I am Arif, so my UID is 1000 and these are the groups which I belong to. I belong to the group Arif. This is my primary group, and in front of these groups, these are the groups which all are to whom I belong actually. So I belong to Arif, I belong to Adam, CD-ROM, sudo, dip, and so on. You can see the main page of these commands for details and see the options as well. You all might have used the su command or su hyphen command, and normally you have used something like this, that I want to switch user to a root, or I want to switch user to Kaka Manna, let's suppose. So if you know the password of that particular user, for example Kakamana in this case, you can use su command to become Kakamana. If you do not mention a username, for example if you do not mention a username over here, you become root. And this hyphen plays a very critical role in this. Using hyphen with the su command will also give you the target user environment. If you do not use the hyphen command, you will not get the environment of the target user. And if you use this hyphen command, you will find yourself in the target user home directory and in his default login shell. You all might have practiced this in the previous lectures. If not, please do that. Dear students, once you install Ubuntu, the root user is by default disabled. Regular users are encouraged to use a command that is known as sudo, super user do, to carry out system administrative task. So instead of switching to root, you use this command to perform administrative commands. Sudo allows an authorized user to temporarily become root using his own password instead of having to know the password of the root. To become sudo, you need to be a sudoer, ERS. You need to become a sudoers. So if you want to be part of the sudoers list, your name should be there in a file etc sudoers. So let's see this file etc sudoers. etc sudoers. So, this is the file which contains information which can give privileges to different users for different commands, for different categories of commands, for the power of the actual root as well. It is strongly recommended that even if you know the password of root, you must not uh, edit this file using vim. Rather, you should edit this file using visudo command. visudo. Only the root can call this command, or a user who is already a sudoer can call this command. So let me repeat that the etc sudoers file must always be edited by the visudo command instead of simple vi or vim. The visudo command actually locks the file and does some grammatical checking as well, so that you must not leave this file in a bad state. So discussing visudo is beyond the scope of today's session. So the best way is you can add a user in the sudo group instead of editing the sudoers command. So if you want, being root, let's suppose I am root and I want that kakamana should be part of the sudoers group. So what I can do is I can say usermod hyphen capital G sudo kakamana. So I will talk about the usermod command in detail after some time, but remember this is going to make certain changes in the user kakamana. It is saying that make kakamana a member of this group. Sorry for the typo over here. Member of this group. So after this command, kakamana will become part of the sudo group. So kakamana will be able to use sudo. You must practice this in the lab or on your laptops. Right, gentlemen, let's start playing now. By default in Linux, every user you create is a member of a group of the same name as his login name. So you have seen over here that Arif was a user and he was member of this group. Every user is mandatory a member of a group which is called his primary group, and that user can be member of many other groups which are called the secondary groups. So let me repeat this id command again. Since I am root right now, so root is by default member of all the groups because his id is 0, his gid is 0, and his group's gid is also 0. Let me exit root and let me be Arif again and let me say id. And if I ask you to kakamana and I do id, you can see kakamana is member of the group kakamana, which is the primary group of kakamana, and the secondary group is also kakamana. So this is the only group he belongs to. Let me exit and let me ask you to another user Rauf, and you see in this case as well the scenario is same. So this is the user which was first created by the system, and this was automatically sudoer of for this system, and kakamana and Rauf are the two users which I have created myself, so they are not member of other groups. Soon we will learn how to add a user to a member of another group, so we will find other groups over here as well. There is a very important file that is @passwd. Oh, let me shrink it a little bit. So @passwd is actually a database of local users. So it contains one line for every user on your system, having 7 fields. These are the 7 columns. You can see column separated 7 columns. In the first column, you see the name of the user, the login name of the user. In the second column, you normally see an X over here, and it says that this user has a password which is there somewhere in some other file. This is the UID of this user, this is the GID of this user, and this field contains some personal information about that user. His name, his address, his telephone number, and so on. The sixth field contains the absolute path name of the home directory of this user, and the last field contains the login shell for this user. We can find out the details in the passwd file. If we can man it. Oops. I've manned it and it has given me information from chapter 1 about passwd command. So if I want to go there, since I need to get information about the file passwd, and the information about files are there in section 5 of the main page, so I use 5 over here. Over here you can see all those details. @passwd contains one line for each user account with 7 fields delimited by colons, and the fields are something like this. So in your spare time you must go through this file. And fine, we have seen the cut command as well. I'm just going to see the users which are there on this system. So I do cut @passwd field 1, delimited by colon. So these are the users. Let me count them. So there are 42 users, including the root and all the system users as well. If I want to see them in single screen in multiple columns, I can use pipe and the columnate command. You see, we have columns over here now, 2 columns. So these are the users. You can see the root user in the beginning, and you can see the Kakamana, Rauf, and Arif. These all are the users which exist on the system. Now we are going to learn how we can add a new user on the system. So for that, either I need to be root or I need to be in the sudoers file. So since I am Arif, I'm not Arif. Since I am Arif right now and I am in the sudoers group, so I can use sudo and I can say add user 1. Okay, so he's saying that I'm going to add a new user group user 1. I'm going to add a new user 1 with the primary group user 1. I'm going to create the home directory /home user 1. I'm going to copy some files from @sql to the home directory user 1. You need to give the password of the new user, and then it has said that I have added the password for user 1 to some place, and then he is asking that give me the full name of this user. Okay, full name of the user is, let's suppose, Muhammad Jamal, and the room number is, let's suppose, 5 or 4. Work phone is 12345 and home phone is 654321, and others I don't want to give any other information, and yes, the information is correct. So a user has been created. Now let's see how this command has created the user1, and it has added information into what all files. First of all, it has added the information in the local database, that is the @passwd file. So instead of viewing the entire file, let me grab user1 from @passwd file. So name of the user, the password, UID, GID, the personal information which I have given, the home directory, and of course the shell /bin/bash. Now it has also said that it has created a group as well. So the file which contains information about the groups is @group. You can less it as well to see all the groups. So @passwd is a database for the users, and @group is the database for the groups. @passwd contains colon separated 7 fields, and @group contains 4. The first is the name of the group. This shows the password of the group, which is somewhere else, of course. This is the GID of the group, and after this you may find comma separated list of the user names who belong to this group. And since there is no other user who belong to this group, so you find nothing over here. Let me do less @group. You see, this is a group ADM, and there are 2 users who belong to ADM, syslog and Arif. Similarly, you see this is LP admin, and there is only one user, Arif, who belong to LP admin. Okay, and that is it. You see user1 over here as well. So later we will see how we can add users to different groups. Now this was about adding a new user and adding a new group. Now let's talk about a bit about the password as well. The system has asked for the password and it has saved it somewhere else. Let me see that password as well. @shadow. Probably this is a restricted file, so only sudo can see that. You see, this is the line related to the user1, and this is a line related to Arif. So what does this shadow contains? First of all, it contains 9 colon separated fields. The first field which I have highlighted right now is the user1, name of the user. The second field, which is quite a long field, let me select it till the next column. This is the field which contains the encrypted password. Then 17088. This is the field which contains the day the password was last changed since 1st January 1970. So these many dates have passed since 1st January 1970. So if I will change the password tomorrow, it will contain 17089. So this was the day the password was last changed, since 1st January 1970. And in Linux, normally every time date is managed since this time, 1st January 1970 midnight, which is known to be the Unix epoch. We will talk about it some later time. And the next field, which contains 0, is the min password age. This means after this much number of days, the user can change the password. A 0 over here means that he can change the password anytime. The fifth field is the maximum password age. It says that after these many days, the system will prompt the user to change the password. So this is a big value. The sixth field contains the warning, and after that we have the seventh field where you don't find anything. So this is the password inactivity period. Uh, then the eighth field, which contains the account expiration date, and the last field normally contains nothing, it is reserved. If you want to see all this again, you can see the main page of the shadow file, which says each line of this file contains 9 fields separated by colons in the following order: login name, encrypted password, date of the last password change, minimum, blah blah blah, and all the details. Please go through these. You should have a fair idea of what the password, the shadow file contains. Then, gentlemen, the way a user's password is saved in the @c shadow file, the group password is saved in the @c shadow file. Let me see that file as well. Sudo. Let me grab this time. Grab user1 from @cg shadow. So there are 4 fields, colon separated 4 fields. First field is the name of the user. The second field says about the password, and since is a bang sign or exclamation sign over here, that means the password is locked. The password, if the password is used, you will find X over here. Then is the third field. The third field contains the name of the group administrators, comma separated list of group administrators, and the last field contains the group members, comma separated group members. So there are no group administrators, are not group members of the user1 group. Soon we will see how we can add these to this. Right, gentlemen, we have seen 4 configuration files: @c passwd and @c shadow, @c group, and @c shadow. After seeing these 4 configuration files, let's see the home directory as well. If I say ls home, you see there is another directory that is created with the name of the user that we have created. And if I say ls-la, suppose, long listing and hidden files as well. So it shows you some files and directories inside the user1 home directory, while the user1 has not even logged in right now. So who has created these files? .bash underscore logout, .bash rc, .profile, examples, .desktop, and so on. So these files have been copied from a location that is @c scale. You see, @c scale contains .bash logout, which has been copied to every new user's home directory. @c scale contains .bash rc, which is copied to every user's home directory. It contains examples.desktop, which is copied to every user's home directory, and it finally contains .profile file, which is also copied to every user's home directory. Right. Let me briefly tell you what is there in these files. .bash logout is a file, a script file which is executed on logout by the bash shell, and it normally responsible for clearing the screen. .bash rc contains different environment variables like ps1 and aliases, which you can set permanently over here. You have seen me changing the prompt, and you have seen me creating new aliases on the shell, which are created on the shell, and they are not available to me once I log out and log in again. So if you want them to make them permanent for you, you can enter them in .bash rc. Then we have the .profile file. It is read by bash only if the bash underscore profile and the bash underscore login do not exist, which normally do not exist in Ubuntu. And you can set the path environment variable and the umask in this file. Here I would like to add, whenever you switch user using su hyphen, to a particular user, let's suppose Arif row for Kakamanna, this dot bash rc and dot profile file are read, and then you log in as that user. And if you do not use hyphen over here, these files are not read. So gentlemen, let me repeat this portion. Once you create a user, a home directory of that user is created in /home, and it is populated with 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 files in my system, which are copied from etc to the user home directory, and we have seen it. Okay, there are two more configuration files which I will like to talk about. One is the etc login.tefs. So etc login.tefs contains some default configurations. Let me see this file. Please read this file at your time, and you can do man login.tefs as well. So it contains platter of information of interest of the system administrators. Let me grab the string pass from the file. Let's see login.tefs. So you see it contains information about the password of the user, which we have seen in the file. So these are the default settings of the passwords. So max days of the password, you have seen this figure in the etc shadow file, min days, van age, and so on. Similarly, you can see the IDs as well. Let me grab just the key ID from this. Yes, you can see the minimum UID. We start from 1000. You have seen that Arif is the first user who is having the ID of UID of 1000, and the max is of 60,000. And similarly, you can see the group ID min and group ID max as well. Similarly, there is another file that is useradd file. Let me less it. Default useradd. So again, this is a file which contains setting for the scale directory, home directory, password expiration, and the shell. So please go through it. This is again an important file. Basic snapshot of the information of the file can also be get using this command, useradd -d. Home directory, inactive, expire, will not expire, then the shell, and so on. So what we have done is we have just created a user using the add user command, and we have seen that a lot of things happen in between. So let me delete the userdel user1, and let me use a -r option over here to delete the associated files as well, delete the home directory as well, and I must do sudo as well. Okay, now you can check out. There is no home directory of this, and you can check out there is no user1 in the past.wd file, and there is no user1 group in that group file as well. So we have seen that we can create a user using add user command, and let them be default. There is another command that is add user, useradd. The way we have used add user command, it is very interactive and make us create the user very easily. There is a low level command that is known as the useradd command. To that command you need to give certain more information as well on the command line, like -m is to make the directory of that user, and you need to give the path of that. Let's suppose I want to create user2, and then you say user2. So this is a minimum requirement you should use if you are using useradd command instead of add user. I personally recommend you to use the add user command. So we have created another user. Let me grab user2 from @c password. So we have. So let me create another user, user3. Okay. So remember, we have created 3 users now, user 1, 2, and 3. And now we know we can delete the users. We can delete the users using userdel command with a -r option. This will delete user3 and all its associated file. Let me first check out this file. User3 is there. So let me delete user3 now. Sudo userdel -r user3, and let me check out now. The last line is of user2. So you can add user, you can delete user, and you can modify a user as well. What do you mean by modifying a user? So let me modify a user. You can modify a user using the usermod command. And what you can modify, you can use the -c option and give some personal info to user, let's suppose 2. And let me check out the last line of @c possibility. You can see that the information which I have given over here, the personal information about user2 has been placed to appropriate place. Okay, let me say that I want to change the shell of user2 from default bin bash to bin sh. Okay, now you see the shell has been changed to bin sh. Previously the shell was not bin sh, it was bin bash. Okay, so similarly you can use -l command to give a new name to a user. You can use -l command, -l option to user mode, and say that user2 name is now user007. Let's suppose I say that. So it says, okay, I need to give 007 first. This is the new name first, and then is the old name. And the old name is user2. And I say grep. Okay, let me do tail -1 @c passwd. So you see user007 over here. So you can use different options to user mode. Let me write them down for your ease. -c is for changing the personal information, -s is for changing the shell, -d is to change the home directory, -l is to change the username. If you want to lock, being administrator, you want to lock a user that he should not be able to log in, you use -l option. And if you want to unlock, you can use -U option. If you want to change the primary group of a user, you can use the -G option. And if you want to change the secondary group of that user, you can use the -G option. To user mode, of course. Similarly, you can use another command, that is chage. Sorry, chage. Chage is used to change password expiry information of a user. Let me use sudo chage of user1. So it is asking me changing the aging information of user1, enter a new value or enter for default. So minimum password age is 0, you can change that. Maximum password age, you can change that. Last password change, you can change that. Password expiration warning 7, inactive account expiration date, and so on. So you can always change that, or you can let it be to the same. So chage is going to make changes in a file that you know is @c shadow. Similarly, if you want to see the just password settings of a particular user, you can use -l option to chage. Okay, which will show you the information about that user, which we have tried to change over here as well. Similarly, there is a command that is chsh, which is used to change the shell of a user. So you can change the shell. If I write something over here, the shell would have been changed. Similarly, chfn change finger. This is a program that is used to change the personal information of the currently logged in user. I am Arif, so is going to change information. My room number, let's suppose I say my room number is 3, now my work phone is 321 is, I know, 123, and that is done. And let me grep now @c passwd Arif. So you see this information has been just added now. So chfn is going to change the @c passwd file, and chsh is also going to change the last field of @c passwd, and chage is going to change the @c shadow file. And last but not the least, finger is another program that is not currently installed, that can be used again to show the personal information. So that was all about a bit about user management. Let's talk about the groups as well now. Right, gentlemen, as we have already seen that information about the groups lies in @c group file, and I am Arif. Okay, I have seen that if I press ID, I get information about myself, about what my UID is, and my primary group and secondary groups. If I use groups, so it shows me all those groups to whom I am member of. So why we need group? Gentlemen, suppose you have a faculty group, and you want that all the users who belong to the faculty should be part of this group. So you can do that. Similarly, in our university, there is a students group, and we put all the students who are enrolled in our university in the students group, and we give permissions to those groups instead of giving permissions to all the students. We have about 3,000 students in our college, in our department. So instead of giving permissions to all the students individually, we give permissions to the groups, and we put students in those groups. So this is the beauty of group, and it's very important for a Linux system administrator to understand how group management can be done. So let's suppose I want to know the groups of Rauf and Kakamanna. So there is no Kakamanna. Why? There is. Okay. So they do not belong to any other group right now. So we can add the groups. Group add. Let's suppose group 1. I have added a group 1. Let me sudo. So I can add a group 2. I can add a group 3. So where these groups has been added, we know that they have been added in @c group file. So these are the 3 lines that has been added in @c group. We have seen @c group using tail. So you can add the groups, you can change the groups. The way you have the usermod command to modify the user, you have the groupmod command as well. Let's suppose I use groupmod, and I use -n option to groupmod, which says give a new name to a group, new name of GP1, and the old name of GP1 is GP1. So again, let me sudo, and now if I tail this, so you see the name of group 1 is changed, new name of group 1. Okay, so similarly we can delete the group as well. So using the groupdel command, So using groupdel command, I can always delete a group. And if you see that C group file, the new group 1 has been deleted. Now if you want to make a user, we have created two groups, let's suppose group 1, group 2 and group 3, and I want user 1 to be part of group 2 and group 3. So let me say user sudo. Let me say sudo first this time. Sudo usermod -a -G group 2 user 1, and I want to make user 1 a part of group 3 as well. And then I see this file. You see group 2 user 1 is part of group 2 and user 1 is part of group 3 as well. So let me give another command. I want Rauf as well to be part of group 3. So you see group 3, Rauf, user 1, they both are part of group 3. Let me make Arif as well part of group 3. So Arif is also part of group 3. So whenever you are going to use usermod command, you need to be very careful, because if you give the command like this, you do not give an A over here and you do not give a group over here. You just say usermod -G and you forgot to give the name of the group and you say Arif. What this will do is, this will remove Arif from every group of which he is member. Let me repeat again. If you do not use a group name after -G option, it will remove Arif from every group of which he is a member. So it is always better to use a -A option over here, which means append. So now if you do something like this, nothing bad will happen. So gentlemen, that is all about the groups, the user management. There are further details as well which we can talk about, but I think that is enough, and if you want to dig out more, you can easily find out more from the main pages of these different commands. So let me summarize now. Let me briefly summarize. Okay, so let me change colors to red, suppose. So we have seen user management in Linux, and we have seen that there are three types of user: root, regular, and system user. And if you have observed that the root user has an ID of 0 and the regular user's ID starts from 1000. So the regular user's ID is always greater than equal to 1000. And the system user, there are a lot of system users, like if you see the @c passwd file, you can see the user DAEMON, Gmon, you can see the user mail, and these are the users whose default shell is not bin bash, whose default shell is USR as bin no login. Their default shell is no login. You will find this over there. And similarly, you may find users with name of systemd, syslog. And if you see the last column in the @c passwd file for these users, you will find /bin/false written over there instead of /bin/bash. So we have seen different related commands like whoami, which displays the username, your username, then who, which displays a line of all the users currently logged in, and in that line you can find the name of the user, the terminal, and the date, time, and maybe the IP of that machine as well. Then we have seen the w command. If we have, I don't think we have. So if you happen to use the w command, you will find a lot of more information about users, their terminals, the login time, their idle time, and the time they have used the processes, and the time they use the current process, and the what field, and so on. And ID, we have used this of course to display your ID, your primary group, and the list of the secondary groups, switch users, super user do, and vi sudo. And vi sudo is very critical, gentlemen. I've particularly talked about that you should not use vi sudo, rather you should use usermod and with the -g option to make a user the member of the sudo group instead of doing that. So for sudo, remember, let me write down over here again that command. Whenever you want to do that, you write let's suppose you are root, and you say that usermod -g sudo and user1. So this is the name of the user who you want to make a sudoers. This is the name of the group, and this is the secondary group. So you are saying that modify this user and make him member of this group. So after you execute this command, user1 will be able to successfully execute all the sudo commands. Okay. So then we have talked about the configuration files, gentlemen. First of all, we have seen that the home directory, whenever you create a user using the useradd or the add user command, its home directory is created, and inside the home directory there are certain files like .bash underscore logout .bash rc .profile and examples.desktop, and this is the directory which contains these default files, and these are placed in everybody's home directory. Then we have the /passwd file, which is a local database in Linux, which contains information about all the users, one line for every user, 7 fields which we have seen. Then we have the /shadow file, which contains information about the password of every user. Encrypted password can be read by root only, rest of the world cannot see it even. Then we have the /group, which contains all the groups that are existing on your machine. We can say that this is a local group database on Linux. Then we have the gshadow. Gshadow is related to group permissions related to the passwords. If you think that you want to, you can use a command that is gpasswd. You can man this command at your own. This is used to make entries in this file to give permissions to users to add users to different groups. I have intentionally not touched it. Okay, then we have @login.txt file. This was the file that we talked about, that this file contains default password configuration information. Similarly, we have the @default useradd file, which contains default settings for the shell directory, home directory, password expiration, and the shell. The commands which we have used are add user and useradd. I've said that it will be better if you use add user instead of useradd, which is a low level command. Similarly, we have del user and userdel. We have usermod. Usermod is used to modify an existing user, and we have different options that we can use. -c option is used to change the personal information of a user. Similarly, you can use -d to change the home directory of a user, -s to change the shell, -small l is used to change the name of the user, -capital L is to lock the user so that he should not be able to log in the lab, -u is to unlock. Similarly, usermod can also be used to change the group of the particular user, -g to change the primary group, and -G to change the secondary group. And finger is for personal information, chfn is also for changing the personal information, and chsh is for changing the shell of the user. So a user can use these two commands to change the shell and to change the personal information. Chage is also good. You can use chage to change the password expiration details that are there in the @shadow file. And if you use -l with a username over here, it will list the current password settings of that particular user. Then gentlemen, we moved on to the group management. And in the group management, we said that there are two types of groups a user can belong. One is the primary group and the other is the secondary group. Every user in the system belongs to exactly one primary group, and he may belong to many secondary groups. Whenever Ubuntu creates a user, he creates a group with the same name and make that user member of that particular group. So why groups are created? Groups are created to make ease in the life of the system administrators, so that they can give permissions to groups instead of giving individual permissions to every individual user. So groups is a command like the IDs command. We use ID as well. The ID command was used to display the identification or ID information of the user, and the group command is used to display the list of the groups to which logged in user is the member of. You can give a name over here as well. So similarly, we can use groupadd or add group to add a group. We can use del group to delete a group, and group mode, we have used group mode to change the name of a group. -n is to use the change name of the group, and -g is to use the GID of the group. And probably gpasswd, I have already discussed that you can use gpasswd, which is the equivalent of passwd in Linux. So that is all, dear students. I hope this lecture was informative, and please practice this. Hope TAs will prepare a very good lab for the user management so that you can learn a lot. I wish you all the best. Allah Hafiz.